What's going on, guys? It's the end of the month. Oh, I guess it's not the end of the month. This month shouldn't count. February is only 28 days. If this was a real month, it would be the end of the month, which means it's time for another Win-A-Box finals here. For this video, we're actually going to kind of change up how we do it. We're going to go through the deck breakdown first and then get into the finals commentary after. So this is our deck breakdown. Win-A-Box number 7, yet again breaking another attendance record. We've got 87 players signed up for this Win-A-Box. And so let's go ahead and get into the decks played. We've got the 87 decks here, including the top 16 decks. So we're going to go bottom to top as usual. We see our usual one of suspects here, just people testing some decks out, usually. And so we see, you know, maybe what they think is good. But we see SBA Unions here. That is the XYZ Unions style deck, but instead of using the Union combination skill, they use Spellproof Armor to make their Unions immune to spell effects. We see still Relinquished, always someone trying to make Relinquished work. I hope one day they succeed here because, you know, Relinquished is sort of an old school throwback deck that used to be really good back around Attack from the Deep, and even in Discards of Battle it did pretty well. But we've got Rat Monarchs next, which is a form of Icy Monarchs. It's just instead of running things like Gaia as their sort of foot soldiers, they run Giant Rat as like a floater, kind of similar to Apprentice Monarchs, where they run Apprentice Magician to float. As their foot soldier, Rat Monarchs will run Giant Rat. We see Phantom Beast, people still trying to make that new deck work. We've got Moth Stun, which is a version of Parasite Paranoid and Great Moth, only they run Giant Rat and like Zombina and Haunted Shrines and things like that. Moth OTK, which is very similar to Dark Moth. So a lot of these lower decks you're seeing are very similar to the upper tier decks. They just kind of change a little bit on the style that they go for. But Moth OTK is Dark Moth without the dark. So they swap out the allures and they swap out the dark engine to run for more like back row removal and things like that, or better foot soldiers. Personally, I feel like if you're going to run Moth, it's an all or nothing play. You want the dark engine, you want to draw into your pieces, and you want that OTK consistency. I don't really think that Moth has another style right now. It's pretty one-dimensional. But there was someone who tried to make it work. We've got Magnet Warrior still being played a little bit. I'm just going to attack. That's the new Joey skill. We've got Icy Warriors, Icy Fairies. These are all basically versions of Inner Conflicts. We've got Inner Conflict Monarchs, Apprentice Monarchs, Rat Monarchs, Inner Conflict Warriors, Inner Conflict Fairies, all versions of just Inner Conflict decks. We've got Gaia, still using the Gaia skill to normal summon a 2300 beater. We got Dark Lucius, we've got Burn. Unfortunately, we've got Viral Despair still being played, unfortunately. Not topping though, so maybe those people will swap to something else next time. We've got Skull Servants here, which actually, if you pay attention to the Speed Duel tournaments beyond Speed Duel League, Skull Servants actually did really well in JDS number 5, which just wrapped up this past weekend, piloted by Terramaster. So those deck lists will be, or his deck list will be in the Hall of Victory, so keep an eye out for that if you're a Skull Servant fan. We've got Giant Rat, probably the best overall version of Stall to play this meta. So we still have somebody topping with it. Still 3 players isn't too bad in terms of representation. Spellproof Armor, surprisingly, actually still like 5 people playing is really solid representation. They usually get around 5 plus per tournament. This was a deck that a lot of people thought was going to do really well after seeing the Battle City box when you see all these powerful spell cards come into the meta, and then you see they got gosh, what is his name? It's not Colossus, but it's like Kaulosis or whatever. The 2300 vanilla beater that they got. A lot of people pegged this deck as a tier 1 deck. And looking at past tournaments, I mean, they didn't top this time, and they've really only had 1 top per Speed Duel League tournament anyways. You see Win-A-Box number 5, which was the Win-A-Box right after the Battle City box set dropped. They had 1 top. Speed Duel League series, 100 people, they had 1 top. Win-A-Box number 6, you know, I think it was like 80 or 78 or something, 1 top. Win-A-Box number 7, almost 90 players, no tops. I mean, they're really just struggling to make it work, and it's kind of surprising. A lot of people thought this deck would be a lot better than it's showing currently. We've got TP Warriors, been on the upswing in terms of people playing, but its number of tops stayed about the same. So 1 person top, 7 people playing it, not the best look. Usually it was a deck where only like 3 people would play, but 1 would still top. Now it looks like more and more people are trying to get on the Twisted Personality Warrior hype train, but not finding success with it, so we'll see what happens next tournament. Stego Control. This is the Thieg guys, or Theg guys, or the G. I don't know. I don't know what they call their cult, but THEG is the clan that these guys, pretty much everybody played this Stego Control deck, and they specifically asked me to call it Stego Control. Deck list wise, it's near identical to Giant Rat Stall, but they have a black Stego in it, which is that 2000 defense Dino monster, where if you attack it while it's in attack mode, you can swap it to defense mode. So, Stego Control. It actually had 2 people top, which is not that bad. 2 out of 7 topping with it. So, congrats to the Theg guys. I think there was 1 or 2 other people that were also playing it, but it was almost entirely that cult playing this deck. So, congrats to them. 2 out of 7 ain't bad. And then we're on to Dark Moth, which I will spoil for you right now. We are going to see in the finals coming up here whenever we get into that video. Doing a little bit better than Stego Control. We see 7 people play it and 3 people top. So Dark Moth, still a very, very good deck. They actually did technically get a little bit of a buff in the Battle City box with the addition of Cosmic Cyclone, with Breaker. They just got more pieces to remove your back row with and sort of guarantee their OTK. They're also running things like Santa Claus, and we'll see they're also running like Lava Golem to, if you try and bog down your field with a bunch of set monsters, they will tribute those off for face-up monsters and then Moth you for the OTK. So they've gotten very, very consistent with getting out 1 or 2 Moths and just pushing for game. And it's on the uprise, so if you're going into tournaments, be wary that a lot of people are going to be playing Dark Moth after this video, and just have been over the last couple weeks. And then we've got sort of the top 3 decks of the format in terms of just people playing and people topping with. For sure, since the Battle City box come out, Apprentice Monarchs, IC Monarchs, and XYZ Unions have been the 3 top dogs of the format. So, and it's no different here. We actually see XYZ Unions for the first time be the most played deck. They've always kind of hovered under IC Monarchs and Apprentice Monarchs. But going in, you see a very large number of players played these 3 decks, but the same number topped in comparison to things like Dark Moth and Stego Control. So definitely an interesting win a box, a pretty nice overall. Not one deck dominated the top cut, is what I'll say about this win a box. Apprentice Monarchs is actually going to be the other deck that we'll get into in the finals here coming up. But 3 out of 11 ain't bad, 3 out of 13. And then we have 3 out of 17 for XYZs, which is kind of... XYZs has just been that deck where a lot of people play, not a lot of people top. And that's just kind of been a consistent theme with them. They had 1 out of 11, they had like 2 out of 12, now they're having 3 out of 17. So I don't know what it is. But personally, I hate the XYZ mirror match, so I wouldn't play XYZs just to avoid the XYZ mirror match. But it's always been a very, very popular deck. And just kind of popular, it's old school. Kaiba ran the XYZ Dragon Cannon cards in the anime. And yeah, so that's going to be our deck breakdown. Again, winner box number 7, setting another record with 87 players, but it's time to get into our finals match. It's going to be Dark Moth versus Apprentice Monarchs, so stay tuned for that. Alright guys, here we are with the winner box finals. As I mentioned before, we had 87 players come out for this tournament. It was about 4 weeks of competition, all leading up to this final match here. We've got Aguirre in the bottom, and we've got White Sauce in the top. So let's go ahead and get this started here. As I said, this will be a Dark Moth versus Apprentice Monarchs match. Aguirre will be our Dark Moth player. White Sauce will be our Apprentice Monarchs player. Sorry. I almost thought I said that wrong. We go through the rock, paper, scissors. White Sauce is going to take that. He's going to elect to go second. I don't know if White Sauce knew that Aguirre was playing Dark Moth, and he chose second. But you want to go second against Dark Moth. They usually don't have much of a turn 1 play. They're mostly about going second into a first turn killing you, or OTKing you. So we'll see what Andre's got here for the first. He may just pass. That's really common, depending on what he drew. They don't really have any. I mean, you could set a Sphere Kribo, I guess, or you can summon a Breaker. We'll see what he wants to do here. Thinking it through. I doubt he has very many options, but he is thinking it through on what he wants to do. So he's actually going to set a monster. I guess that could be like a Newdoria or an Old Vindictive or something. I don't think he'd set a Sphere Kribo. And I don't think he'd set a breaker. And those are really the only cards that Dark Moth runs. I just realized I accidentally had sound muted here. But we'll see. We'll see how White Sauce takes his turn. So he's going to Allure. Again, I'm not a big fan of Allure and non-combo decks, but here we go. He's going to banish his Sphere Karibo as his Dark Monster. Set 2. Brings down the Breaker. Breaker won't have anything to pop, so it'll just stay at 19. And then we'll see what Andre has set for us here. And it is a Newdoria. Okay, so that's just, you know, again, Dark Moth. They only have a handful of monsters that they actually run. Breaker, Sphere Karibo, Newdoria, Old Vindictive, and that's pretty much it for monsters. So, and then obviously Great Moth, Paranoid, Sphere Karibo, but they don't really set these. So, but Andre going to, I think I just revealed that this card is a Sphere Karibo. Yeah, I actually had my mouse on his hand, so we know now that this card is a Sphere Karibo. And he may just banish here for Allure. But down comes the Allure. See, I like Allures in these decks, combo decks, where like he's digging for Paranoid pieces here. But he's going to banish the Sphere Karibo. And then one issue that Andre ran into is because the Newdoria popped the Breaker, he's almost like in a turn 1 scenario where he doesn't have anything to Paranoid for an OTK. So he may just be in another turn 1 scenario where he just kind of passes his turn and doesn't really do anything. But here comes the Allure. Second Allure, actually. So we'll see if he has another Dark to banish. Surely he does. You would not Allure with 4 cards and not have a Dark. Because if you don't draw into one, you are losing your entire hand. That would be a way to lose a finals game. I like these sleeves, by the way, the Dark Magician Girl Knight. And the Kaya sleeves are cool too. And we actually, I just realized we've got Dark Magician as Andre's icon, and the Flame Wingman as White Sauce. So we got Jaden versus Yugi here. Yeah, so Andre's just going to pass his turn. Again, Dark Moth can't really do anything if there's nothing on the field. But White Sauce activates Zoma in the end phase, so there is now something on the field. White Sauce will probably swap that into attack and get some damage in here. Andre more than likely not going to have a Sphere Karibo because he banished 2. He's only got 1 left in the deck. So he's just going to take that. And it's over to Andre, and we're probably going to see a Paranoid play here. He's gone through 2 Allures. I can almost guarantee he's got Paranoid. He may even have double Moth. At this point, we're expecting to see Night Beams come down, start clearing out this back row. We're expecting to see the Paranoid come down on the Zoma. But White Sauce has a face-down monster. And that could be, because I said it's Apprentice Monarchs, and just in general, Monarchs wouldn't set anything if it was a Breaker or a Gaia, so you can tell it's more than likely an Apprentice Magician or an Old Vindictive Magician. And he's going to double Night Beam, and he's actually going to hit Waking the Dragon. So White Sauce is main decking Waking the Dragon, which I feel like Interconflict, the skill is already pretty nice against Moth, because you can, if they double Moth you, so long as you can survive that turn, you can simply Interconflict, steal a Moth, crash it into the other Moth, and that's how you can, your skill can essentially get rid of both Moths, assuming you don't get Sphere Karibo or something. But so he has the Interconflict skill, which is already pretty nice, and then he's also got Wakings to punish Andre for popping these, so White Sauce in a really good spot here. He's got Zoma, Arcana, full life points, plus a face-down monster, so very difficult for Andre to get out of this. I mean, all 3 of these cards, I'm assuming, I'm just going to hover, yeah, it's an Apprentice Magician. It could have been an Old Vindictive, those are really the only 2 options here. But all 3 are fantastic against Moth, right? They don't want to swing over Zoma. He will lose if he swings into this Zoma. Very difficult to get the Paranoid down on Arcana. Arcana is also bigger than Moth, so he can't, he has to go for the Arcana if he brings down the Paranoid. But Lava Golem, so this is something I think I mentioned where Dark Moth players are running Santa Claus, and then Andre is main decking Lava Golem. And that's going to completely change this board state. And you're seeing exactly why he runs Lava Golem. Normally with Dark Moth, this board state's unplayable for Dark Moth players. There's no outs. But he just Dark Moths. He turns an Arcana Knight Joker into a 3,800 into a 3,000. And then a floater into a 3000. Both of these that are outs to Moth now become Lava Golem, which is not an out to Moth. So huge play. I definitely expect after this tournament. I think Andre, he did really well with it in JDS number 5 this past weekend with Lava Golem. I think he's the only player I've seen have Lava Golem. A lot are running Santa Claus, but I think he's the only one running the Golem. And I think you're going to see this spike in Lava Golem after these 2 tournaments from him. JDS on Sunday, Win-A-Box, number 7 finals here, and then also Speed Duel series. I think you're going to see a lot of just Dark Moth players swapping in Lava Golem because it just saved the game here. Just straight up, and now he can Paranoid the Zoma. And so now we were talking about how it's an unbreakable board. 3 monsters, can't deal with it. He just dealt with all 3. But there's one more out that White Sauce, he still has his skill here. So that's still something he's got. So we will actually not see double Moth. Interesting, he went through 2 allures and didn't see a second Moth. I've seen Dark Moth players open with a Moth in hand, and he went through 2 allures and didn't see a second Moth. That would be game unless this card in White Sauce's hand is a Sphere Karibo if it was 2 Moth. But, so just the 1 Moth, which actually may be good because White Sauce has his skill, but if he doesn't have a Tribute Summonable monster, he can't steal the Moth and crash into the other Moth because there isn't a second Moth. So he can steal the Moth, but he won't be able to attack directly. So White Sauce is hoping to have a Monarch here that he can tribute, steal the Great Moth for, and then attack directly. And that might actually work because Andre doesn't have any Sphere. He might have a Sphere Karibo. We'll have to see here. So he is going to activate his skill, pay half his life. He's going to steal the Moth. The Moth cannot attack directly. And he's going to tribute for the Monarch. Income Kaiser Glass. Perfect one. If it gets destroyed, bounce a card. And we'll see if Andre has the 3rd Sphere. He's taking a while, so he may actually have the 3rd Sphere here. No, he just took him a second to hit the... I think Andre plays on a phone, or he was for the JDS, so he may be playing on a phone here, so it just took him a while to press the admit defeat button. Might have been what happened there. But we're going into the side. Usually the side is better for the non-Moth player, just because there are, you know, cards that are not necessarily main deck worthy, but are side deck worthy that can really swing the Dark Moth matchup into your favor. So White Sauce may be putting in things like Lost Wind into his deck, which will help with the Moth Mirror. Or not Moth Mirror, sorry, just the Moth matchup. Other than that, I mean, shoot, Lava Golem. Lava Golem, bolt the Moths off the board, I don't know. But yeah, you know, maybe more Cosmic Cyclone stuff where it's like Andre's really going to have to be able to pop all these back row to not, you know, if White Sauce is able to set 3 back row and like one's, you know, 2 are Lost Winds, one's a Cosmic Cyclone, Andre has to pop all 3 of those back row. So, and I've seen some things with Dark Moth, but that's a tall order to be able to pop all 3 back row and still have a Paranoid. Can happen, it's just the odds are pretty low. But White Sauce is going to go first, so Andre's got exactly what he wants. That's one nice thing about losing. Is that going into the next game, so Andre gets to go second here. White Sauce, though, sets a monster and passes. I don't know if he didn't want to set any back row, or because it would just get popped, or if he just bricked. But Andre may just see a pass from him as well, so we're going to have a Lure come down. Just digging for combo pieces, you know, banish, useless, Breaker would be useless here. Sphere Karibo might be, you know, just get him out of the hand. Try and find a Paranoid, try and find Lava Golem or Santa Claus would be good here. I'd imagine White Sauce has a Sphere Karibo in his hand, just not setting anything. You know, there's a decent chance he has a Sphere Karibo in his hand. Andre thinking about what he wants to banish. Shuffles his hand before he banishes. That's good, just so you don't let your opponent know if you're banishing a dark monster that you just drew, or if you're banishing a dark monster from your hand. So just shuffle and don't give that information to your opponent. He's really thinking it through. And he banishes a Breaker who wouldn't really have much use here, because White Sauce hasn't played anything. Down comes the Santa Claus. See, we don't even know if he drew that because he shuffled his hand. But down comes the Santa, and that's going to get rid of the old Vindictive. That's really nice to just get it off the board. Technically a minus, or Yeah, technically a -1 for Andre. But it is to get rid of the Old Vindictive, and now he can Paranoid it, and now we're going to see a Moth come down, potentially 2 Moths. And will White Sauce have a Sphere Creep? But if he does, it's actually advantage to White Sauce because he can do the Inner Conflict. So both come down, so now he can Inner Conflict. And White Sauce is actually just going to scoop, never mind. So I don't know what I'm talking about. White Sauce did not have a Sphere Creep, so he just scooped it. I don't know if White Sauce had back row and didn't set it, or if he just didn't have anything. But if he had back row, he probably wishes that he set that and just let it get popped. But there we go. So on to the next game, and that's one nice thing about Dark Moth is fast. You know, I feel like I like it whenever my videos are not that long. You know, usually because we mostly only do Win-A-Box videos on this channel. Videos are very long, so we're already on game 3, and it's only been, we are 12 minutes into recording this section of the video, so I think we're 20 minutes. Oh, okay, so we're still at 20 minutes, but we're on game 3, so that's nice. Usually, if we're going into game, usually if we have a game 3, it's a 35-minute video. So fast game, dude. That's nice. They're actually taking time siding. Oh, White Sauce is done siding, so Andre is thinking on what he wants to side. He will be going first, unfortunately for the Dark Moth player. But so this is for all the marbles. Game 3. Andre has to go first. Will we see another 1-turn kill? Again, Dark Moth players don't really have a turn 1. They just, you know, most of the time they will just pass. But here we go. So we normal summon Breaker, set Newdoria, or pass. Those are really their only plays turn 1. So White Sauce can Paranoid this break. No, I'm kidding. Paranoid the Breaker and then go for the OTK and give Andre a taste of his medicine. We'll see what White Sauce with Breaker. Definitely, you know, not that bad. It's 19, you know, so White Sauce is he's just gonna set more than likely an Apprentice or an Old Vindictive, which is kind of awkward, you know, and then pass, and now the Breaker is gonna be able to pop one of those back row, potentially swing over the Apprentice Magician. Like, Andre's gonna get a lot of value out of the Breaker here, going +2. At the very least. We'll see if he has anything else planned for this turn. But at very least, he can counter, you know, remove a counter on Breaker, pop a back row, swing over whatever that face down is, more than likely an Apprentice Magician, just based on the ratios that people run Apprentice Magician to Old Vindictive Magician. Usually they have 3 Apprentice Magician and only 1, maybe 2 Old Vindictives. Did he just pass? He doesn't want to, I mean, I guess he's afraid of, we do know that White Sauce has Waking. We don't know how many. But he just passed. He didn't even want to, like, force out another Apprentice or anything. I guess if it is an Apprentice, he wouldn't go +2. Because the Apprentice would float another Apprentice. But still. Surprised he didn't want to remove the counter? Like, what do you need a 1900 Breaker for? I guess White Sauce could have his own Breaker. Interesting that he chose to literally do nothing. I feel like the longer the game goes on and the more monsters, he's actually going to use his skill here. Oh no. I don't feel like that's the play here. I feel like just pass if you don't have a play. Don't use your skill is one of your outs to Moth. I don't feel like, because now he can just Moth that Kaiser, and you don't even have game. You don't even have like a flip up a Breaker for 4,000 exact. I don't know. I don't like the skill play. I think that just like in this matchup specifically, and maybe that's one of the advantages of Andre running Dark Moth, like a really solid Dark Moth build, is people are not even used to playing against Dark Moth anymore. Or like smart Dark Moth players, I guess. Most people are just, you know, vomit Night Beams and win or lose. But I feel like right here, that's just not worth it. You know, like you just lost your skill. You have 400 more life points than your opponent. I feel like that was not the play. If that was the only play he could make, just don't make a play. Just pass your turn. You know, or set something. I don't know if he had a monster because I don't want to reveal hands or anything. But you know what? Fuck it. Well, why not? Darkwood. So yeah, that was the only play that he had, and I mean, he even has Sphere. You can just chill. Just chill, and if he makes the Moth, Sphere it. You will not get OTK'd, and then take it next turn, and there's your comeback. I feel like this was a really premature skill activation by White Sauce here. But he does have 6 cards. He does have, you know, an established board. But I feel like Moth can just blow through this so easily. You know, it's just like Night Beam, Cyclone, Paranoid comes down. You know, Lava Golem comes down, Paranoid comes down, and then double Moth from the hand. Like you could see Night Beam, Cyclone, Lava Golem, Paranoid, Moth, and then a Moth from the deck, double Moth, done. You know, now we know that White Sauce has a Sphere Creevo, but he doesn't have his skill to like come back from that. So he doesn't have a skill to like steal a Moth and then swing into the other Moth, steal the defense mode Moth, turn it to attack mode, swing into the other Moth, and then play from there. Hope that he top decks a monster, and then White Sauce, you know, or Andre will have, I guess he'll have the one draw off Paranoid and then the draw off the deck. But oh, here we go. There's one Night Beam. I feel like he would play. Like, why just only do one? Like, if they do one Night Beam, they always have another. They don't. Nobody just activates one Night Beam and then does nothing. Or do they? We'll see. Maybe Andre will be the first. That's it. He's playing on phone, so maybe he's struggling here to press the buttons, but he just one Night Beam. He's like, I'm taking a little long to think about what I want to do here. I'll fire off a Night Beam, let him know I haven't disconnected. You know, fire off a Night Beam and then go back to thinking. That way you can't complain about stalling for time in a game that has no time. So there's the second Night Beam, okay. Maybe he's just being dramatic with his Night Beam usage. It's gonna hit Awaking the Dragon though. Maybe that was maybe that's what he was contemplating, is that Awaking the Dragon. So he had to like find his dice in his room and roll it and just, you know, 1 through 3 it is, 4 through 6 it isn't. But there comes the Lava Golem though, so we see it again. We see the White Sauce, and this definitely is Andre's contingency plan for the Waking the Dragon. They'll have one monster already down. I'm not going to reveal what it, but they'll have one monster already down, and then you're going to hit their Waking the Dragon, and that'll give them 2 monsters, and you tribute both for Lava Golem. That is definitely Andre's thought process behind the Lava Golem in his deck, and we're seeing it come to fruition. We see it 2 times. You know, a lot of people bank on these Waking the Dragons to save you against Dark Moth, and it doesn't. But he is going to be able to immediately tribute the Lava. This could be game here. Really quick. Andre's on 1600. Nope, he's got the Sphere. Okay. He's got the Sphere. I feel like it was pretty obvious he'd have the Sphere just because he did give him a 3000 beat stick. So, I mean, if he didn't have the Sphere, it was game no matter what. But we'll see here, though. Andre down to 2 cards, and he top decked a Paranoid. That's exactly what I'm assuming did. He might not even have had a Paranoid. He just top decked. He was going to lose, and he just top decked the Paranoid to get out of this situation. Might have been what we just saw. White Sauce was on 4 cards to 2 as well. But Andre did have his skill, and he top decked right into Paranoid. He had 3 Paranoids in the deck, so not the crazy. He has 2 Moths, so he had a Moth in hand when the turn passed to him for the game. And literally, he draws anything that is not... He literally draws anything that's not Paranoid and he loses. Outside of, I guess, another Sphere Creevo to... Maybe, no, because I think White Sauce would just need another monster. I feel like literally if he top decked anything other than Breaker the Magical Warrior there, or anything other than Parasite Paranoid, I saw the break. Anything other than Parasite Paranoid, he loses there. But he's going to put the Paranoid back in, shuffle. Now he's in the driver's seat, unless this is a Apprentice Magician, I feel. Almost guaranteed, because he hasn't flipped it up to swing, so it's got to be some low-level thing he doesn't want in attack mode. So either Old Vindictive or Apprentice Magician. It's going to be the Apprentice Magician. We'll see if he wants to go into another Apprentice Magician, or if he's just going to go straight into the Old Vindictive here. Probably, I don't know. I don't know which one is better, but he's just going to go straight into the Old Vindictive. And then Andre can either swing. He's not going to swing. So now White Sauce can flip up this Old Vindictive, but again, White Sauce doesn't have his skill because he used it earlier at a time when I genuinely feel like he didn't need to use it. But here comes the Old Vindictive, so he's going to target one of the Moths, and then he top decked. He shuffled a Parasite Paranoid back into the deck, and he top decked another Paranoid to prevent. So he's equipped it to this Old Vindictive, which is going to change it to an insect and prevent its effects that target from destroying insects. So this Paranoid is going to stop Old Vindictive from being able to pop one of these moths. Wow, he top decked Paranoid, and then he top decked another Paranoid to play around the Old Vindictive pop. I don't know how relevant that is, because he would still have one Moth, and White Sauce again doesn't have a skill yet to get out, and it's not like his Monarchs will get over it. But wow, and now White Sauce, if he can't stop, he's got 2 Moths to crash into this Old Vindictive. I guess a book would be really nice, a Book of Moon. If he swings with one of these Moths into the Old Vindictive and then it gets booked, the attack will remove the Paranoid, and then the attack will flip up the Old Vindictive and he can pop the other Moth. So if this is a book, this face down card here, that's one way out of the situation. White Sauce thinking though, I don't know what he's thinking about before he passes his turn. He's not playing on mobile, I don't think. But back to on banish. Did what? White Sauce didn't banish off Allure. Okay, so that's just, I guess that's just finals nerves. You know, White Sauce forgot he played Allure and forgot to banish. I even forgot that he played Allure because I was talking about something else. But White Sauce forgot to banish. Andre, the banish, please. So Andre's in control here. This is potentially game right here. If he swings double Moth into this Old Vindictive, I feel like nobody runs Windstorm to stop both attacks. Andre's just gonna have to be scared of the Book of Moon is really the only reason I could think of not to just slam, but like don't swing into this. That's probably Apprentice Magician. Don't swing into that. Actually, he's gone through 2 Apprentice Magicians, so if it is, he saw all 3 Apprentice Magicians. He may not even have a target. I don't know if he runs 3 Apprentice and 1 Old Vindictive, or 2 Old Vindictive, 3 Apprentice, or 2 Old Vindictive, 2 Apprentice. But we'll have to see here, because if this is an Old Vindictive as well and he swings into it, then he's out of the situation either way. So I would say correct play, just swing into the face-up Old Vindictive. I guess, I don't know, which one's more likely? That he's seen his 2nd out of 3 Book of Moons, or he's seen one of his pieces for Apprentice and Old Vindictive. But that's probably what Andre is thinking, is just thinking about the attack order here. How does he want to do it? Because this could be game deciding what he does here. He top decks Santa Claus, okay. To get rid of, so it was an Old Vindictive. So this was he had 2 Old Vindictives, which was just an unlosable situation, assuming again that this is Book of Moon. But we'll see. So he got rid of the Old Vindictive because he top decked this. So man, Andre's top decked Paranoid, Santa Claus to pretty much play perfectly around what White Sauce has. And he's actually going to swing over the Santa Claus, I guess, here. And it gets sphered. So I wonder if Andre just threw the game there. So this got sphered. And then this could still be a Book of Moon. We'll see. It was a Zoma. So Andre was afraid there was a book. But one of the is if it wasn't a book, the game was over. So Andre had game there. And he didn't go for it. If he just swung with both Moths, White Sauce could only stop one at the. Now he has a book. So, and he's actually, I don't know if he should have just like waited. Maybe wait 1 turn, I feel. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. You're gonna book him next turn anyways. I don't see how it really matters. But I guess like swap it to defense mode and then set the Book of Moon. You don't have to book that. Just swap him to defense and then use the Book of Moon to like protect. I feel like that was a misplay. To just Book of Moon. And he top decks Breaker, which is going to end the game. So this game is 100% over off the break. So Andre top decked Parasite. What did he top deck? Parasite into Santa Claus, into Break, to perfectly play around everything that White Sauce has. And this is 100% game over. But going back to what crazy top decks from Andre here for sure. But that's one thing about, I'm gonna go and pause here, but so much happened in that last second. But that is one thing, you know, it's one thing to top deck, but it's like he has these cards in his deck for a reason. Like he's top decking cards that he put in his deck specifically to win these scenarios. And it's not that crazy, you know, like he was top decking Paranoid when he had 3 Paranoid in the deck. I think he has 2 Santa Clauses, so he top decked 1 out of his 2 Paranoid or 1 out of his 2 Clauses with almost half his deck left. Makes sense to see 1 of your 2 when you're almost at half your deck. He top decked a Breaker. He hadn't seen one yet, Sorry, he's top decked his second breaker, and he was almost 1/3 of the way through his deck. So super lucky to see them in that order, but I don't think it's that insane. But huge misplay from White Sauce here with the book. If he played this differently with the book, if he had simply swapped the Vindictive to defense mode, and then, right, this doesn't, let me make sure I'm not being retarded. I don't think this prevents. Target one equips monsters, cannot attack insect monsters, effects cannot be targeted, you can only use one effect. Yeah, so he could have changed old Vindictive to defense mode, had the Zoma, and then set the Book of Moon. And what would have happened is when he summoned this breaker into attack mode, he could have booked the breaker, and then breaker couldn't pop the Zoma. And then that pretty much ends the turn, because, you know, I guess like they could have, yeah, there was no play that he could make it that point. Like he would have been sitting on the Zoma still, and you know, he would have gotten multiple turns to try and get, you know, to at least see cards to potentially get around the Zoma, because Andre, his only out to the Zoma at that point, even if you just play one Zoma, his only out would have to be his second, because I know that he has two because I've seen his deck list, but he may not even have put the second one in. So I definitely feel like that was a misplay on White Sauce. And he could have at least gotten more turns by just don't just book and just swap it to defense and save the book. I also think he played his skill too fast, so I feel like Andre got super insanely lucky. I mean, he literally had a Moth in hand, and it's being passed Andre's turn, and like the only card in his deck that can stop him from losing the game was Paranoid. And he saw it. And then he saw another Paranoid to stop the old Vindictive from popping one of his Moths. And then he saw a Santa Claus to get rid of the other old Vindictive. And then he saw a Breaker to get rid of the Zoma. So insane top decks from Andre, definitely, but just a very well-built Moth deck in general. I've not seen Moth run Lava Golem, and we literally saw it put in work. I expect so many Moth players to be net decking this and putting in, they should have already have had Santa Clauses in, but definitely making use of the Golem as well. We saw unbreakable boards where it's like, if they don't have Lava Golem, you lose. Because he had, you know, 2-3 monsters, including a Joker, and he just Lava Golemed that board away. So, huge congratulations. For people who do not know Andre, this guy was an absolute beast back before coronavirus, back in like January 2020, February 2020, back whenever I was not running the Speed Duel League, Lex Law was running the Speed Duel League, and Andre was running a train on the tournaments. He won so many in a row. It was insane. So we have the top 10 global leaderboard, ranking the 10 best players in Speed Duels based on tournament placements. Between January and June, we gave points we gave 1 to 2 points, depending on the size of the tournament, for people who won tournaments. And that was sort of the preseason of that top 10 leaderboard. And then from July to December was really the first season for the top 10 leaderboard. And that's whenever players, whenever they won tournaments, would get 5+ points for their tournaments and whatnot. Andre won so many tournaments in just January and February alone that when the leaderboard launched in July, he was already rank 1 off of just those 1 to 2 per tournament preseason points, 1 point, 2 points, preseason points. He won so many and stacked them so high that he was rank 1 the second that the leaderboard came out. And then all the way till December, he stayed on the top 10 leaderboard. I think he finished like 6th or 7th place. So you had 6 months of people being allowed to win 5 to 8 points a tournament, and they couldn't catch up. Like only a handful of people could catch up to Andre, because he had won so many 1-point tournaments, 2-point tournaments, because they were weighted. They were still big tournaments, but they were weighted points because they were the preseason points. He won so many of those tournaments, getting so few points, but he won so many that players who were getting 3 to 8 points per tournament could not catch up to him. So that's how dominant this guy, and he is not missed. He's just come back to some of the first tournaments that he's played, being back off hiatus. He played JDS number 5, he's played Winnabox number 7, he's going to be playing in the Speed Duel League series this Saturday. I believe he's playing in Winnabox number 8. So these are some of his first tournaments back, and he has not missed a beat. He won JDS number 5, he's now won Winnabox number 7, the largest Winnabox. Huge congratulations to him. Absolutely phenomenal player. And White Sauce, not to take anything away from White Sauce, he did great. I think game 3, he didn't play the best, but also, I mean, Andre drew out of the situation for sure, but White Sauce had his moments where he could have played a little bit differently and potentially have won. You can't guarantee anything, but he definitely could have not lost on this turn. So he played his skill a little early, and he booked his old Vindictive, basically wasting his book. So or getting greedy with his book is what I should say. Obviously, he said it because he wanted the Old Vindictive to pop something. But still really well played to White Sauce, well played to Andre Aguirre. And welcome back to Andre Aguirre. But yeah, so that is going to do it for Win-A-Box number 7. If you guys would like to participate, if you're watching this video and you want to get in on tournaments like these, this is a bit last minute, but we've got Win-A-Box number 8. Signups for that are closing Friday at 12 p.m. CST. So that's going to be a little less or a little more than 24 hours from the time this video is posted. Speed Duel Series number 2 has its signups closing at the same time, Friday, 12 p.m. CST. And then that tournament will actually take place Saturday at 12 p.m. So we've got 2 tournaments coming up within 2 days of the time this video, from the timing that this video is posted. Win-A-Box number 8, Speed Duel Series number 2. Join the Speed Duel Discord. We've got the link in the description below. And you can get signed up for those tournaments. They're free to enter. Speed Duel Series $500 prize, Win-A-Box $50 prize, which is going to Andre Aguirre for winning this one. But yeah, guys, so sign up for those tournaments. Bit last minute, I know, but that's just how it is with the timetable of when we do these videos and when we host the next tournament. So join the Speed Duel Discord, even if you don't plan on playing in these tournaments, for anything up to date with Speed Duels. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.